In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this Lego brick that's shown on the screen right now. We're going to use a new tool, the Rectangular Pattern tool. Rectangular Pattern tool allows you to take a feature and repeat it multiple times. And so we can see on that brick that there are 8 studs on top. And so I'm going to draw just one of those, create just one of those studs, and then I'm going to use Rectangular Pattern to create the other 7. So there's a lot of dimensions on this particular drawing. It's hard to kind of know where to start or what it all means, but what we're going to start by looking at is the overall width of 1.2 and the overall depth of 0.6. We also want to keep in mind that the height of the main brick is 0.38. So we'll keep those dimensions in mind and we'll hop on over to Inventor. So I'm going to start with the rectangle tool, and I'm going to make this 0.6 by 1.2, and then I'll be able to extrude that to 0.38. And we have our basic brick. Now what I'm going to do, I am going to go ahead and shell out or hollow out the bottom. I could use a shell tool, but I'm actually going to create a sketch and project the geometry of this. And I'm going to go back and look at our drawing again to see how thick the wall is. And we can see that this wall right here is 0.05 inches thick. So pretty narrow. So we'll go over to Inventor and we'll create an offset from that of 0.05 inches. Again, I'm going to hop back over to the drawing and we can see that this pocket has a depth of 0.33. And so I'm going to extrude that 0.33. Okay, so now we have the hollowed out Lego brick. So now I'm going to make one of those studs on top so that we can use the rectangular pattern. So I'm going to go back and look at our drawing. The stud I can see has a diameter of 0.2. You can also see that it's 0.15 from the left edge. This times 4 means all 4 of these are that same dimension from the edge, so they're all 0.15 from the edge. And it's also 0.15 inches from the bottom there. So we have a diameter of 0.2 and then 0.15 from each edge. So we'll start a sketch. And I will create a circle that is 0.2 in diameter. And then for circles, we always dimension from the center of the circle. So right there we have that dimension there, that was 0.15. And from here it's 0.15 as well. And that gives us our circle. When we look at this drawing, we can see that the overall height is 0.45, but the brick to the top of the stud is 0.45, and the main brick part is 0.38. So the difference between these two is the height of that actual stud. So I'm just going to let Inventor do the math. And I'll choose that shape, and I'm going to put I already forget the numbers, 0.45 minus 0.38. So 0.45 minus 0.38. And there's the stud. So at this point, we can get in there and look at that rectangular pattern tool. So it's up here. There's a pattern panel in our 3D model ribbon. And there's one that looks like a rectangle. Once again, as all the tools, if we hover over, it gives us a help menu. So you can use that if you forget how to use it or want more help. We click on it, it gives up the option menu, and we see that there are 3 red arrows. So those are things we're going to have to select. There's 2 options here. The top one is to create a pattern off an individual feature. The second one will just select the whole object. So if you have an entire object, you can just hit that and you can repeat everything you've done so far. In this case, I only want to repeat the stud, so I'm going to use this first choice. I could click directly on that feature, but I can also select the feature from the browser or the model window, which is my preferred way to do it. So I'll find it over here. When I see it highlight, I'll click on that feature. This would also allow me by holding Shift to select multiple features if I need to do the pattern for multiple things, but we don't. So I'm only going to click on the one feature. Next, I need to choose a direction. And so I just need to pick some edge that's running along the same direction that I want the pattern to go. So this edge of the brick will do. I want 4 studs. And if we look back at our picture, we can see that those studs are 0.3 inches apart. And so we'll put in right here 0.3. You can see I now have the 4 studs, but I want a second row of 4 studs right next to that. And so I'm going to choose the second direction. Now you don't have to use the second direction. At this point I could hit OK and it would actually produce it, but in this case we also need the second direction. So I'm going to click this edge here. That creates the second one. In this case I only want 2 studs, still 0.3 apart. You can see they're on the wrong side. So I need to flip the side. So I'll click this direction to flip. I could flip the other one too, but it was already in the right place. And I hit OK. And there you go. We have all the studs on the top of the Lego brick. Now, if we go back to our drawing, we can see that there's also 4 or 3 cylinders that line the bottom, an inner diameter of 0.15, outer of 0.25, and separated by 0.3 inches. They're also dead center on that block, so they're 0.3 from the edge here as well. Forgot to put that dimension on there. You can do that yourself to practice using the pattern tool. And that concludes this video.